There's more news from Toyota. First, it was floor mats. Then it was accelerators, gas pedals. Now, reports of problems with Toyota's brake pedals. And the latest advice from the Transportation Secretary of the United States is likely fueling driver fears.
My advice is, if anybody owns one of these vehicles, stop driving it, take it to Toyota dealer, because they believe they have the fix for it.
I want to hear a lot more about that. Since then, the Transport Secretary has come out and said maybe you don't have to stop driving it immediately, but you do need to contact your Toyota dealer. We'll get you that in just a moment. But it is adding to the confusion around this issue. Toyota stock took quite a jump the wrong way when LaHood first made those comments. It's starting to recover a little bit, but let's talk about how serious this issue actually is. Let's go to Buffalo, where Lauren Fix, auto analyst, joins us now with her take on what's going on. Lauren, this just continues to get more and more complicated. You heard what LaHood said. He's since backed away from that just a little bit. But why is this so confusing, and what should Toyota drivers do?
Well, I think the first thing, it is confusing. When you put out a huge statement like that, stop driving your car. I happened to be at the gym when that was announced, and people were literally freaking out. They were on the treadmills thinking, I can't drive my car, how am I going to get home? So when you make a statement like that, I think that's a huge impact on consumers who have a huge loyalty to Toyota. But for those of us, now that he's backed off on this, for those of us that have these cars and they're concerned, anyone who's driving a car that unintentionally accelerates, you have to know what to do. And I'm kind of disappointed that no one's put out some standard rules. And as an ASE certified technician and also as an engineer, I tell people, first thing you want to do is put your car in neutral, hit the four-way so people around you can communicate with you, pull over to the side of the road, stop the car, and call the dealer and get them to flatbed it in.
All right, so the bottom line is everybody with a Toyota, despite the mixed messages you're getting, should be calling your Toyota dealer and making an arrangement, first of all, and finding out what they tell you to do. But there is a fix for this, or there is not? Because we're hearing mixed messages about that, too.
Well, that's a good question. When you're dealing with something called drive-by-wire, and it's electronic contacts and moisture getting on those contacts, and I've heard stories about this since 2004 and people complaining. It's concerning. We assume that the fix that they're making is the correct fix in production cars and cars in the dealership, and the local dealers will do anything they can to create goodwill with their customers. First thing I would do is call the dealer, assume that this is the correct fix, otherwise they wouldn't let it go through. And according to NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety, LaHood's team says they believe this is the fix, unless something changes in the next 24 hours.
Right, and the change that we're hearing about now is increasing reports of brake problems in Toyota Prius. There's been no comment on that from Toyota, no recall issued on that, so we're watching that very closely. The issue here that's confusing, Lauren, as well, is that who's in charge of this? Was Toyota on top of this? Were they actually forced by LaHood's group to actually do something they weren't prepared to do? Who are you supposed to believe if you're a consumer at this point?
You know, that's a really phenomenal question, because if you go back and you look at NHTSA's website and some of the articles that have been posted in all the national magazines and newspapers, you will find that they did know about this in 2004. It sounds like it's a design errors. I've worked in quality control departments, and anything could have happened, that it missed quality control, it was designed improperly. Either way, whatever is out there has to be fixed. The brake problem with the Prius is very serious. I mean, there's so much here. I think that Toyota was trying to repair it on their own, keep their reputation, keep everything on the down low, contact consumers. But as consumers, I have doubts. I think that they were pressured by NHTSA to take care of this problem because they had no options. There's too many complaints. There were 19 deaths. There were thousands of accidents. When this happens, this waves a big red flag. NHTSA always gets involved to protect the consumer. And LaHood is doing the same thing. And I think they did pressure Toyota, and I think they waited a little too long. But now Jim Lenz and his whole team are pushing very hard to try and make good now for what they may have been a little slow on reacting.
Right, Jim Lenz is from Toyota USA. NHTSA is National Highway Traffic Safety Association. What are you thinking? How do you feel about LaHood coming out and saying people should just stop driving their cars? Now it seems he's saying what you are saying, know what to do if your car gets stuck and contact Toyota. Are we getting into this realm of irresponsibility, or is LaHood as Transport Secretary doing the right thing by going further than Toyota seems prepared to go?
I think initially he may have reacted like many people would. Oh my God, I'm going to stop driving my car. but having a way to help people that are paying anywhere between, $15,000 and up to $50,000 or more for a car, you're telling someone you can't drive that car. You're asking for a class action lawsuit. So in order to soften this blow, the better thing is to educate consumers on what they need to do. And I think Ray LaHood's second statement was better than his first one. I think the impact to Toyota is going to be tremendous. It's going to hurt them. They will do everything they can from a dealer level, from a manufacturer level, to help their customers, because they can't afford to destroy their brand equity.
All right, we're going to continue this conversation with you, Lauren. We've also got our Poppy Harlow on the way to well, she's actually just spoken to a dealer. There's some very interesting news you need to know from the dealerships. We've also got Richard Quest here, who's going to discuss what the impact of this has been, both on the stock and on Toyota sales internationally, and whether or not we can expect more recalls to be announced from Toyota. Stay with us. Our conversation about Toyota and what you need to do continues in a moment. Those Toyotas. This is complicated because a lot of people drive these cars. They depend on them for work or for their livelihood. We are getting new comments from Ray LaHood. We're waiting to get them here. As soon as we do, we'll turn it around. Meanwhile, I've been talking to auto analyst Lauren Fix. She's with us via Skype from Buffalo, and CNN's Richard Quest joins us from London. Richard, as soon as Ray LaHood made these comments, the Transportation Secretary of the United States saying stop driving any Toyotas that are on the recall list. Toyota stock started to take a dive. As I last checked, it was starting to come back a little bit, but it was a 6% drop or something.
Yeah, 5 or 6% off on a stock that is now down some 20%, Ali, since this crisis began. I suspect that this comment by Ray LaHood saying stop driving your Toyotas, take them to a dealership, was one of those off-the-cuff comments designed to actually, entice people to sort of do some action, and of course has had a disproportionate effect. Hence the reason why, you're right, we're now getting a recall, if you like, on those very comments. Across the world, it's a similar situation. Here in the UK, this is the press release this evening from Toyota in the UK. About 180,000 vehicles that have been affected that Toyota are now trying to put back or trying to repair. This is the quote I want to read for you from the head, the managing director of Toyota UK. He says, "We want to rebuild the trust with our customers by working through this issue." The key word there, as you and I know, as any business correspondent knows, it's rebuild. They've got to recognize, as it seems they do now, that their reputation is in tatters.
Well, let's ask Lauren about this. Lauren, many people, Peter Valdez de Pena, our auto writer, who will be on the show with us in a little while, made the comment that a lot of Toyota drivers won't tell you that theirs is the flashiest or sexiest car, but it is reliable. The brand is trustworthy. This is something that has really given that company quite a hit. Is it going to be easy for them to rebuild from this damage?
I think it's going to take a little bit of work to rebuild, as they were saying in the quote, the trust. Consumers bought these cars because they were reliable. Matter of fact, many of them strayed from U.S.-built cars that were actually equally as good in order to transition to Toyota because their friends, families, and relatives either worked on the production line or also had Toyotas. So when you have one or two people in a family that say, my car was recalled and I was treated fairly, you can rebuild that trust. If not, it's going to be very difficult to rebuild that trust. If someone strays to another brand, family may follow.
Richard?
We've got to look at the areas where we've seen this happen before. And of course, we all think of Tylenol. We all think of Perrier and the benzene in the fizzy water. We can think of toys from China that have been defective. But a car, an automobile that you put your family and your children into, that you drive and that you risk your own life in, I think that's sort of slightly different, particularly since it is, as you know and I know, Ali, it is most people's largest single capital expenditure after the home where they live. And I think that those are factors that Toyota has played on in the past: reliability, respectability, good solidness, and that's come home to bite them. One thing is absolutely crucial in all of this. I've spoken to a dozen experts in PR, branding, and this whole area, and they all say that you can recover providing you're honest, you're truthful, and you're perceived not to have hidden anything. If those three things are missing, then you might as well put up the shutters and go home now.
Richard, good to talk to you. Lauren Fix, thanks very much. And Lauren, specifically, thanks for the detail on what auto owners have to do if they have a Toyota. Good to talk to both.